Can we start? Shrestha Teshna Shambhavi. Yes. Okay. Hope you all are able to hear. So we are starting the today's class. Yes, we were discussing about the head neck face part. Development of the CNS. Okay. So last time I told you the neural tube. Yes. Now see how the brain is getting developed. Neural tube we talked. Yes. Can you see this image? Can you see image of embryo? Visible now? Okay, okay, thank you. Here the space button is not working. So just can you see this image of the embryo? Yes, this is the head bulge. Then below the head bulge there is the cardiac bulge, and lateral to the cardiac bulge there is the upper limb bud, and on the lower side this is the lower limb bud. Can you see the segmented structures at the back of the baby? These segmented structures are known as somites. Okay, and on deeper side, okay, this is the one diagrammatic presentation. Can you see somites? These are on each side of the tube like structure which is known as neural tube. And again repeating the previous class, we have seen in the previous class ectoderm dividing into the neuroectoderm, which is making the neural plate, which was making the neural groove, which was depressing and making the neural tube. Okay, now there was the formation of the anterior neuropore and the posterior neuropore. Anterior neuropore was getting closed on 25th day, while the posterior neuropore was getting closed on 28th day. What the point? Okay, now if there is a non-fusion of the neural tube, that was known as the neural tube defect. Now further part, see here, the neural tube is tube like structure. Suppose try to understand. Suppose this is the tube. Okay, when you are cutting section, you are looking in the rounded way, but when you are looking from the front side, you are looking that it is having the cylindrical rounded structure. As you can see in this image, this is the tube like structure, neural tube, surrounded by the segmented structures known as the somites. Again few other images you can see. Yes, this midline structure is the neural tube. Can you see there is the large opening on the caudal side? This is known as posterior neuropore, while the large opening over the cranial side known as the cranial neuropore, getting the anterior neuropore. Now see here, these are giving origin to our central nerve system. Now see this neural tube, the cranial part is getting dilatation, and that dilated part is making the brain vesicle. What I am telling you, brain vesicle, while the caudal part remains narrow, and that remaining narrow part will make the spinal cord. So what I want to tell you, the brain develops from the brain vesicle, while the spinal cord also developing from the neural tube. Means brain vesicle as well as the spinal cord both are developing from the neural tube, which is coming from the ectoderm. So each and every person must remember that neural tube, brain and spinal cord, all the central nervous system parts, they all are the ectodermal in origin. In the point, all are ectodermal in origin. Okay, so this is the MCQ which will be asked to you. Okay, so now see, okay, now try to understand the brain wave cycle is dividing into the three further dilatation. These are known as prosencephalon, mesencephalon and the rhombencephalon. So what I want to tell you, the cranial most part of the neural tube forms three primary brain vesicle known as the prosencephalon, mesencephalon and rhombencephalon. Prosencephalon is known as forebrain, mesencephalon is known as midbrain, while the rhombencephalon is also known as hindbrain. So the cranial part of the neural tube, it is dividing into the three parts: mesencephalon and rhombencephalon. So your PGI Chandigarh question, how many primary brain vesicles are there? Answer is 3. And what are the name? Prosen, mesen and rhombencephalon. Now these three primary brain vesicles, they further divides into the secondary brain vesicle. Getting the point? Secondary brain vesicle. Yes, prosencephalon divides into two: telencephalon and one another is the diencephalon. Okay, telencephalon and diencephalon. Next, mesencephalon is not further dividing. The mesencephalon is remaining as the mesencephalon, which will make the midbrain. Next, the rhombencephalon again divides into the two parts. One is known as metencephalon, another is known as myelencephalon. So in this way, total 5 secondary brain vesicles are getting developed. What are the 5 secondary brain vesicles? Again, first telencephalon, second diencephalon. These two are dividing, formed by the prosencephalon. Then next is the mesencephalon. Next two are meten and myelencephalon. So this meten and myelencephalon, they are dividing from the rhombencephalon. Okay, so these are the 5 secondary brain vesicles which develops from the 3 primary brain vesicles. Okay, so this is about the your development of the central nervous system. Getting the point? Now you are aware, we will see in the gross anatomy of the brain part that our telencephalon gives rise to the telen is the most front part. It is giving rise to the most developed part of our brain, that is the cerebral hemisphere. Yes, that is the cerebral hemisphere. Now the one mass collection, gray matter mass collection at the base of the brain, that is known as the basal nuclei, that is also formed by the our telencephalon. So what I want to tell you, that telencephalon is making the cerebral hemisphere and the second one is the diencephalon. The telencephalon is giving rise to the, what is your answer? Cerebral hemisphere and basal nuclei, while the diencephalon will make all the parts of the thalamus. You know, the diencephalon, it will again divide into the two parts: dorsal part, ventral part. The dorsal part will make the thalamus, epithalamus and the metathalamus. We will see in the gross anatomy part. While the ventral part will make the hypothalamus and the subthalamus. So these are the divisions of the diencephalon. We will again see later in gross anatomy. While the mesencephalon is not further dividing and it makes the midbrain only. Next, the rhombencephalon, which is dividing into the meten and myelencephalon. The metencephalon forms the pons and the cerebellum, while the myelencephalon forms the your medulla. Getting the point? So these all are the points which you must know as the standard of the first year MBBS. Okay. Now also there is the development of the cavity. Remember, Our brain is not the solid structure. Our brain is not the solid structure. It is having the cavity. The cavities of the brain known as the ventricle. Okay, the cavity of the brain is known as the ventricle. So MCQ, the cavity of the cerebral hemisphere is known as lateral ventricle. The cavity of the cerebral hemisphere known as lateral ventricle. Okay, yes, you can also say that lateral ventricle is the cavity of the telencephalon. MCQ. Next, cavity of the diencephalon is known as, the cavity of the diencephalon is known as, yes, your answer is, that is third ventricle. Next, cavity of the mesencephalon, answer is cerebral aqueduct of Sylvius. Yes, it is the cavity of the midbrain, or you can say mesencephalon. And the last, cavity of the rhombencephalon, okay, that is combinedly known as fourth ventricle. I am getting too much sleepy. Okay, so just okay, oh, no problem. So what I'm telling you, yes, so these are the various parts of the developing brain. Now I'm going to show you few images. Space button is not working. Can you see? This is third week baby, and this yellow color structure is showing the neural tube. Now approximately fourth week, can you see there is the dilatation at the cranial part? This is the brainwave cycle. Okay, and there is the straight running structure, but later there is the formation of the various fold. You know, our brain is again very complicated structure. The cranial part is showing the few dilatation. I will show you one more image, but now the cranial most part is getting more dilated, and ultimately it is giving rise to the, okay. So we are going to compare with the few more images. Just I'm bringing the image from the net. It is slow, it is taking time too much. Yes, can you see most part? So red color dilatation is known as the prosencephalon, blue color mesencephalon, then red color is the rhombencephalon, and this is the developing brain shape. It is very complicated structure. Multiple folds will happen there. Okay, now this is making the two dilatation. So this is the telencephalon, and another part is a dancephalon. While this blue color structure is making the single blue color, that is a mesencephalon, and ultimately this green color structure is dividing into the mediator and the myelencephalon, which is making the pons, cerebellum, and the medulla. Okay, so this is the way. See, these are the points which you have to remember for the development of the brain. Okay, just go to the Google image, and in the Google image you can make the summary from this point. You can download. Okay, this is the same thing. Just download this diagram. Okay, and here all the flow chart is given. So this is the nice diagram. give it a forebrain है, this is the midbrain, और इसके पीछे जो है वो hindbrain. Now forebrain is dividing into the telencephalon and diencephalon. Then this is the mesencephalon, और ये hindbrain किस में divide हो रहा है? Median and. Now see the telencephalon is developing too much. तो सबसे most developed part कौन होता है? Telencephalon. While the diencephalon is a small part, mesencephalon is also a small part, and these are the median and the myelencephalon. Okay. And here is the flow chart for the same diagram. So this is the slide which you can download from the Google, and it is very beautiful summary for the central nervous system development. And after this central nervous system we are going to talk about the pituitary gland development. Okay, so again the question is asked about the pituitary gland. Master of orchestra. So this is the new topic, and yes, this is important, more important than the development of the brain. Okay, so what are the various parts of the pituitary gland? Yes, this is the pituitary gland diagram. What are the parts of the pituitary gland? Yes, we will see in the gross anatomy. Again, this pituitary gland is very important. You will study this topic in the gross anatomy. You are studying in the embryology, and you are again studying in your uh, histology. That's why this is the long note question, pituitary gland. Okay, so here you can see the image that pituitary gland is having the two parts, anterior part and posterior part. नाउ सी द एंट्री पार्ट इज ग्लैंडुलर इन नेचर. बेटा जिसमें ग्लैंड होता है, जिसमें सेक्रेशन होती है, उस पार्ट को हम बोलते हैं एडिनो. सो दिस इज नोन एज द एडिनो हाइपोफाइसिस. नो, द पिट्यूटरी ग्लैंड इज आल्सो नोन एज द हाइपोफाइसिस cerebri, which is located in the sella turcica of the center at the spheroid bone. Okay, now it is having the anterior lobe and the posterior lobe. एंटीरियर लोब इज ऑल्सो ग्लैंडुलर इन नेचर. ग्लैंड के जैसा इसमें से सिक्रेशन होता है. दैट्स वाई एंटीरियर लोब इज ऑल्सो नोन एज एडिनोहाइपोफाइसिस. गेटिंग द पॉइंट. वाइल द पोस्टीरियर पार्ट ऑफ द पिट्यूटरी ग्लैंड दैट इज mainly neuron in nature. That's why it is known as a neurohypophysis. What I am telling you, the hypophysis cerebri, also known as pituitary gland, is having two parts, adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. This is the anterior lobe known as adenohypophysis. Posterior lobe is known as the posterior or neurohypophysis. Now see, these are again divided into the parts. So what are the various parts? So we are going to see. Hope this diagram will be downloaded. We can download it easily. Yes, it is down. So you can see this image for the pituitary gland. Okay, can you see here? This is the diencephalon part. Lower part is the hypothalamus. Above this hypothalamus, on the above there is a thalamus. So this is the diencephalon part. Now see, just in front there is a optic nerve crossing optic chiasma. Okay, you can leave right now. And this is the anterior lobe, anterior pituitary, and this is the posterior part, posterior pituitary. And this pituitary gland is located inside the sella turcica, which is the part of the body of sphenoid. Yes, this sella turcica is also known as the Turkish saddle. So this MCQ have been asked. Turkish means Turkish country, and saddle, what is the saddle? Saddle means the instrument over which we sit during the horse riding. So MCQ have been asked that which part is known as the Turkish saddle. Answer is the pituitary fossa. Okay, now see what are the different parts of the pituitary gland again. It is having the pars anterior, pars posterior. Yes, here the image is given. Very nice speed of the network here. Okay, and space button is fantastic. Okay, so this is the pituitary gland. Can you see anterior pituitary and the posterior pituitary? So anterior pituitary is having the one small elevation, that is a pars tuberalis. Okay, and this is the large part of the anterior pituitary, that is the pars distalis. Why we are saying the distalis? Because it is distal in the location, that's why pars distalis. And this is the posterior pituitary. In between these two there is a one small area, that is the pars intermedia. So this question will be asked, how many parts of the anterior pituitary? 3. Pars tuberis, tuber like elevation, elevation like structure. Then pars distalis and the pars intermedia. Distalis is the very large part. In few books you will see this is also known as the pars anterior. Okay, now see, this is the posterior pituitary and it is having the parts. What are the parts? Yes, there is the median eminence, okay, pituitary stalk, and the pars posteriorlis. Okay, so you will see this terminology in your BD choice also. Okay, so yes, this is the pituitary gland. For the development of the pituitary gland, what you have to remember, it is having the two parts: anterior lobe, adenohypophysis; posterior lobe, neurohypophysis. Okay, so now we are going to see the development. Okay, at your time Google is very nice thing. Okay, very fantastic thing. Okay, at our time we were not having the proper mobile network, this all the things, we were not using the net at our old time. Okay, so better